The instant I beheld my nameplate, I felt out of place. Labeled as an uneducated pretender and father, it sat prominently in front of me at my son's wedding reception. In contrast, everyone else had impressive titles. Dr. Nair, Professor Shah, CEO Meta. I was the undesired blight that refused to vanish. The bride's family openly chuckled, some covering their mouths, while others didn't bother to hide their amusement. Their laughter reverberated through the marble hall like a stinging slap I was forbidden to respond to. As I reached for my coat, ready to depart unobtrusively, my son, held my hand firmly. He neither apologized nor defended me, instead leaning in and softly whispering, "Dad, let's go home." In that moment, I understood. He was aware of the mockery, and he allowed it to transpire. That night, I couldn't sleep. The laughter haunted my thoughts, and the smug voice of the bride's father echoed in my mind. Well, education is indeed important, you know. Blood does not inherently make one a father. In that academic circle, I seemed an antiquated cab driver with no significance. A fossilized taxi chauffeur, unwelcome in their aristocratic lineage. Yet, every day of my son's life, I was present, changing his soiled diapers with grime-stained hands, working grueling double shifts to cover his tuition, sacrificing meals for him to eat well, borrowing and begging only so he would never experience the hardships I did growing up. Yet, in that hall, all my sacrifices held no value. They deemed me insignificant, and he let them. It was not always thus. I used to be his hero. When he was 5 and asked why his mother left, I truthfully explained she wasn't prepared to love us as we deserved. He hugged me tighter. When he earned his scholarship, I cried harder than he did. He swore, "One day, I'll look after you, Dad." As if I had looked after him. Alas, success reshaped his memories. The polished shoes, the refined accent, the management position. Somewhere along the way, he ceased saying "we" and started saying "I." The following morning, as I quietly drank my tea, the LinkedIn headline of his company joined with Nair Biotech caught my eye. The wedding was merely the commencement. I blinked, and then it dawned on me. Nair Biotech, the firm owned by the bride's father. It wasn't a matrimonial union. It was a business deal. I was the final impediment they wished to eliminate. The company's nameplate now made perfect sense to me. They aimed to sever his old identity and bury the ghost of his past. In the scene, I was not an invited guest, but rather the funeral itself. I drove to my garage and opened a drawer that had lain untouched for 12 years. Inside was an ancient laptop, gathering dust but not lifeless. I revived it, powered it on, and opened the folder labeled RAKSHA. It served as my safety net. Although I didn't complete my education, I wasn't ignorant. Over time, I observed, learned, and recorded every transaction used to finance his education. Each loan, each repayment, and every creditor. A specific file, Project ATM, also caught my attention. Conducted a secretive stream of donations that flowed through a charitable trust registered in my name, which was utilized by their company to inflate research and development expenses. They believed I would remain oblivious as they used my identity for accounting manipulation. I didn't inform the police. Instead, I approached someone more effective, the assistant of his co-founder. She was familiar with late-night shifts when I provided him food during his internship period. She recalled the individual who cared for her too, during times when her family neglected her. I delivered a simple message to her. Examine your founder's quarterly reports. Upon scrutiny, the trust funds were revealed. She fell silent. Within 4 hours, I received a text stating that the press would be present. Ensure you are watching. At 10:42 a.m., the company's official website collapsed. Their Twitter account disappeared. LinkedIn was swamped with an unexpected resignation post from the co-founder. I will not participate in this deceit. By 11:10, a whistleblower disclosure surfaced on all major business news platforms. The allegations encompassed tax evasion, fabricated expense reports, and illicit use of charitable funds connected to my name. At 12:03 p.m., a news anchor announced, sources verify the suspected misuse of charitable trusts was linked to the father-in-law, a retired mechanic and single parent who unwittingly assumed responsibility for financial fraud until now. In an instant, their empire crumbled. I didn't grin, didn't rejoice. I merely sat by the window, watching the clouds gather. That night, my son appeared. No media, no guards. Just him. He seemed altered now, more mature, less imposing. He stood in the doorway, reluctant to enter. "Dad," he rasped. I wasn't aware about the title. That wasn't mine. I gazed at him. "Your silence was—" He remained silent. "I raised a son," I said. "Not a commodity. Not a chess piece. I gave you everything. Even my identity. And when they ridiculed it, you joined in the laughter." He stepped closer. I didn't. I held up a hand. Calm. Silent. "You traded your soul to become one of them. You weren't brought up to disregard your origins. Thus you can reconstruct everything, discarding what you cast aside." I departed. He didn't follow behind. They assert that revenge is boisterous. Mine, however, was a quiet undertone in a boardroom. A momentary pause in a press release. A name once ignored, now instilling dread. I've never feigned. Instead, they attempted to bury the foundation I represented. When they mocked, they remained unaware that the ground beneath them was already fissuring. He branded me illiterate. Yet, I imparted his final lesson without uttering a single word aloud.